Oh yeah. That's...
Is someone pressing the buttons or? Okay. Okay, hello everybody and welcome to our Christmas edition of our webinar series. I think you know most of us here, but we talk about this being an inevitable journey. But if we look back on what we've done over the past couple of months, we've gone from prompt chaining to personalization, agent building, and verifying the output of an LLM. So you can see it's all around the idea of generative AI and the uses in the life sciences area. We also had a session with the future of AI with Justin from MyQMS. And this is our last one of the year, so it'll be a little bit different from our ones before. We're hoping that we'll be able to show you a little bit more about what we're using internally in terms of generative AI tools, and maybe we'll give you some ideas on what might be useful for you going forward. So always remember when choosing these tools not to get overwhelmed and to use the Inspire framework as your checklist in terms of what you need to think of whenever you're implementing an AI or choosing an AI tool. What do I need to do? What am I trying to achieve with the investigate readiness and needs? Nurture capabilities, make sure I know how to use it, make sure that it's safe and secure, make sure I understand the workflow it's fitting in, get my data right, build or implement the thing, and continuously evolve. Now we have a little bit of a change today where
just so you know, Connor,
you're going to share screen.
You're not sharing your screen.
The one time we let you take the lead, like you're
one time. Well, I can let you see these beautiful.
That'll be the last time. I'll tell you that.
Okay, well, I think I just got fired, but there we go. So we can see these beautiful slides that Kira made, and she'll show you how she made them later. But Kira is going to be our SME for today, and Colin will be adding insights from the life sciences, our thoughts from the life sciences. But really look at today's session as being a little bit lighter, and hopefully it'll give you some ideas on the type of tools that might or might not be useful for you in your work or in your life. And with that, I'll pass it back to a professional there, Kira, who actually knows how to share a screen. Over to you, Kira.
It's the simple things that get you, Connor. Great. So welcome, everyone. So today we're going to go through our approach in Trinzo to implementing AI across the business. We have a tiered approach and an AI tool stack that we're going to take you through. And this helps us balance cost control, governance, while also empowering the team to implement AI into their day-to-day work. We have the foundation of our AI stack is Microsoft Copilot. So in early 2024, we implemented Microsoft Copilot for the transcription services. And we've kind of been increasing our usage over the last, I suppose, 2 years now, nearly. We then have ChatGPT for team and department focus. So for teams that across Trinzo that are kind of advanced in their use of AI and use it for complex tasks, they can apply for a ChatGPT license and they can start using that system. And then we have our specialized tools and custom built solutions for very specific tasks across the business. So this is usually on a personal pro license or a very small team license, and we'll go through each in more detail today. Okay, so Microsoft Copilot, as I said, we implemented it for the transcription and meeting summaries features. And then over time, our usage has matured. So we now use it for email drafting, internal search across company data, and then deploying company-wide agents for everyone in the company. The benefits of it, of course, are we use the Microsoft environment for work, so it kind of seamlessly fits in to all of our different apps. It's easy access for employees, and we can be more comfortable with the security of it compared to other LLMs or alternatives. So I'm going to show you today a live demo, so bear with me.
This live demo blew my mind the other week, so hopefully it does the same for other people.
I'm still hoping she forgets.
Not to be beating it up too much, Kira.
Yeah, again, it's a very simple demo, but really just to make use of the tools you have available. So I'm going to showcase how we use Copilot in our daily workflow. You can see here, this is the Teams app that we use for meetings. We have pinned on the left-hand side panel our Copilot. So this is like a chat, like ChatGPT, but you can see here you can use it to search across your work data, but also search the web. I don't know if anyone has experience searching through their emails to find a certain email they've either sent or received, but it can take an embarrassingly long time to find it through the keyword search. So the huge benefit with Copilot is that you can use natural language to try find an email, and maybe you only remember briefly the topic, but you can use a prompt to search across your email. So I'm going to show you that now. So you can see here, it's found the email that I'm asking for. I asked it to find the email I sent to Connor with the latest FDA press release. It gives me a summary of it, and it also gives me a link to the source, so I can go into it and work from there.
Of course, Kira, you can search across more than just your email, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to show you as well another prompt where I can search across my calendar. So I'm asking it to check my calendar for the next meeting with Marissa, one of our internal PMs. And again, you can use this for external and internal people. And it's just a quick way to find information rather than kind of manually searching your calendar.
But this searches as well, like your SharePoint and all the documents within the Microsoft Workspace also. So it's like an internal, like you're Googling something internally. That's probably a terrible analogy, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So any app that you use or have access to across the Microsoft environment, like Microsoft Loop, Microsoft Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, based on your permissions, you'll be able to search through everything that you have access to. So yeah, it's not like very complex tasks, but sometimes it's the simple hacks that can make your day a lot easier. I'm going to show you, I know Cullen was asking today, different things, different prompts to put into it. So he asked, could it calculate how many hours I've spent on calls with Connor over the last month? So I think...
Figure out how much time off you need over Christmas.
Yeah.
That's proportionate.
She's gone for 3 weeks in January, so there's no more time getting off anywhere ever again. So it's asked to clarify there. So I'd be very careful with any calculation search, if you know what I mean. So I wouldn't take any of this information as gospel truth, but it could be a good indicator as to what is or what might not be.
And this, like, because when you said that earlier, it wasn't obvious to me, like, so show me the total hours spent with Connor. So it's tree, but also there's a calculation request as such in there. And you've kind of said before that in general, LLMs are not great at calculations. And I think that, for this audience is important from a QA/RA space, if we are looking at using AI to support things like, assessing process validation data, there's a lot of, numerical values potentially there, or I don't know, even in risk analysis, if we're dealing with numbers, like, so you've kind of said that the trustworthiness of LLMs, and that's Copilot, ChatGPT, whatever it might be, Gemini, that when it comes to number work, you have to be super careful. Is that right?
That's right. Remember, it's predicting the next word. It's not actually doing a calculation. So if I was doing any task there where the calculation was important, I'd hook up to a tool that was specifically good for calculation, and then just use the natural language function of the LLM and the calculation of the calculating tool.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for this question in particular, it has to take in a lot of different components, like it's searching. I haven't specified the types of meetings, the meeting titles. So if you give it a lot more context, it may be able to do a more effective job.
That's a different number than it showed this morning. I
Yeah.
don't know if we spent that much
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, but it's a good starting place, though. I mean, if you were roughly trying to find something like this out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the most effective use is just doing a quick search through the different apps to find a certain thing, and then you can click into it and then it begin work from there or use
Yeah.
yeah. So as I mentioned as well, we've used it to deploy company-wide agents or bots. So our operations team have created both a polybot and an FAQ bot. And again, it's been pinned. It's being pinned automatically on everyone's team app. So it really removes the barrier for adoption also internally. So we're going to click into our polybot. So this has
Which is policy for anyone that's not familiar with Trinzo speak.
Yeah, I think there was a competition to name it, so this was the best name we could come up with internally.
Creative bunch.
So this has been trained on all of our internal policies, as Colm alluded to. So this is a chatbot where an employee can log in and ask it about a specific detail within a policy, or even ask it to find a certain policy that they're looking for. So you can see I asked it here earlier, can you give me the mileage rates in the T&E policy? And it generates this response for me. What I think is really important here is the operations team made sure that in any response it would give you also the link to the document that it's taken the information from. So you can click into it and validate it, because of course it is AI generated, and we have a disclaimer here saying it may be incorrect. So if there's specific details, you may want to clarify them, but it's a quick way of getting access to the information.
I think there could be some nice, fairly simple use cases in device companies with this as well. Like if you have a couple of SOPs related to something, your training procedure or even doc control or whatever it might be, that that sometimes you're not sure where to start in a process or something like that. Particularly, I suppose you could imagine this being more value to people who've recently started with the organization as opposed to people that have been there a long time. But again, as we were talking before, Connor, you said you have to be careful, like that you can't overload these agents with too much data, that's a bit of a limitation of Copilot.
That's right. So, Colm, you were asking me, could I stick all my SOPs in here and be able to search
put
them
your
all?
entire quality system in.
Yeah. You could. So Copilot tends to struggle with accuracy and reliability once you get above a certain size of stuff. But if you had a small database, a small set of files or folders that you wanted to search through, it can be very good. I would say building agents or agentic GPTs or whatever you call them within Copilot is finicky. You'll need to talk with your IT person in terms of ensuring that you have access to what you actually have access to. It gets a bit fiddly. It's not as intuitive as in Gemini or ChatGPT or Anthropic or any of those. I'm not sure if it's purposefully awkward, but it's not as easy as it is in other.
But that reminds me, saying that you can put your whole QMS in there. You couldn't really, but that's my QMS, who you spoke with, we had on before. That's, gets into the realm of what their program does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a much more advanced solution.
Yeah, of course.
We're showing here. That's when you know what you're doing, you've got a specific job to do, you're ready for it, you go with someone like my QMS. Yeah.
Great. So I'll just briefly show you as well our FAQ bot. Again, the operations team took the frequently asked questions across IT, HR, and admin and uploaded the accurate and consistent answers. So when a new member comes onto the team, instead of disrupting other team members, they can come here as their first port of call. And then if it's not providing the right answer, they can then go onto the team. So it's not to replace any team members, but it's just to assist. So you can see here I've asked, how do I request time off? And it will give me a process, log it into our HR time tracking system and give me some of the process steps. And then I've asked here, how do we communicate internally? So it will give me a list of all of our different applications, what we usually use them for. And then you can see here, if you have any questions or issues with these systems, you can contact our administrative support, Emma. So yeah, it can just save a lot of time on the simple things.
Cool.
With that, can you see Microsoft, the PowerPoint slides now? Yeah, great. Okay, so we did kind of cover the limitations there. Connor, you mentioned that it's not as intuitive than ChatGPT or Gemini. The response time isn't as fast as alternatives either. And yeah, slower to improve. So you're not always getting the most up-to-date model. So with ChatGPT, again, I did mention that we use this across different departments and teams across the organization. So our marketing team have set up a GPT for copywriting. So any social media posts or website updates can go through this GPT, and it's in line with making sure that it's in line with our brand tone. Our sales team are then using it to train on different frameworks and sales processes. And I know, Colm, you have a couple of GPTs set up on your personal account.
Yeah, and we talked about in one of, I don't know, was it the first or second webinar, we talked about it was in ChatGPT. We built some agents around CAPA support, so, or the CAPA process, like a root cause analysis agent, or you know, a corrective action drafting agent as well. So I've made like a clinical evaluation support agent, significant change assessment agent, and like for anyone that maybe wasn't listening or hasn't heard the one from a few weeks ago, it's like making the agent is, like you said, it's so intuitive in ChatGPT. It's really, really straightforward. And I guess importantly, you give it somewhat of a persona, you give it directions, what you want to use it for, and then you can attach source material. So say the clinical evaluation support agent, you know, I've put the MedDev in there, you know, 14155, the ISO document, any, you know, the MDCG guidance documents, any relevant documentation, you put it in there. So you know that you're sort of training the agent that the response is, it's more aligned with what you want than if you were to just generally put a query into ChatGPT. So there's endless ways that you can customize agents in here in QARA space.
Yeah, definitely. I think the key there is a lot of people default to ChatGPT because it was the first tool that came out. People are a lot used to it. It's widely adopted, and it is more intuitive, definitely, than Microsoft Copilot. I suppose the limitation for us internally is that it's not integrated into the Microsoft environment. Now, I know you can do that, but it's not something we have done. So you are logging into a different system, and it's not trained on your company data, so that can be a con and a pro as well at different times. Okay, so these are our specialized tools. So there's thousands of different tools that we use or that are out there. We have tested and trialed a good many enough, but these are some of them that we've used and gone back to. So you can see here, Gamma is AI assisted presentation creating, like the presentation you're seeing today. We have Canva as well for marketing assets, Opus Clip for repurposing videos. So like the webinar recording, we can take that and upload it into Opus Clip, and it will generate automatically clips for social media. So it saves time on video editing. We have Notebook LM here and Nano Banana. So they're both a part of the Google system or Gemini system. With Notebook LM, it's an AI-powered research and writing assistant that helps you understand complex information. So we're going to give a demo on this also today.
Before we do that, Kira, just for people, for context that mightn't be too familiar with Trinzo, like how many internally in the team altogether in Trinzo? What are we at, 25 or something, somewhere around that? So yeah. Like for context for other organizations, like Trinzo is you know, it's relatively small, perhaps compared to a lot of companies we work with. And like from what Kira has said here, you can see that like a lot of, and this kind of, I suppose it surprised me a little bit the more I'm working with Trinzo, how much so Trinzo is a quality and regulatory consulting organization, but the non-consulting teams in Trinzo, like there's marketing, finance, HR, operations, client delivery, sales, obviously, like there's a lot of different teams, and they're all using different AI tools. And I think the end result is that overall, as an organization, there's a comfort with AI. And then from a consulting perspective, and I think we might mention this later, Kira, some specialized consulting tools, like there's an audit tool, M&A tool. Like when it comes to working with and deploying AI specific tools with our clients from a consulting perspective, like there's a fear has been removed at an organizational level because people within Trinzo are used to using it, whether it's making a presentation with Gamma or from marketing, like you mentioned, Sinead's copywriting GPT. Like there's just the level of company-wide comfort with AI is there. And I think that's it's a nice takeaway for a lot of organizations, because you're tempted to dive straight in with like a very specific use case that's going to add huge value. But if you're going into that cold and the whole team are unfamiliar with AI, I suppose maybe the benefits won't be seen as quick as if people are kind of gradually, and naturally people are using it more in their personal life as well, which will help. But I think, it's important to make the point that as an organization, everyone uses AI for different things.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good point. Okay, can you see Notebook LM?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is your paper column that you uploaded. You might tell us what it is.
Yes, it's not my paper. I didn't write it. Kira and I were chatting the other week, and again, like every time I talk to Kira, I learn something new. So she showed me this for the first time, like 2 weeks ago, this Notebook LM, and it being part of the Gemini suite, as she said, and it is a tool that I suppose can take, complex material, and then you can see over on the right hand side here, you can generate things like mind maps, quiz, reports, infographics, slide decks, podcasts, even from a detailed piece of information, a starting place. So I had come across this paper. This is a systematic review on benefit risk analysis methodologies for medical devices. Just some light reading, I was doing one evening. And as I was chatting to Kira, I thought, could we test this out, putting this paper in and seeing what does it generate, or what would it look like generating a little informational video. And I suppose from my perspective, like if I'm coming across a paper like this or a guidance document, before you invest a couple of hours in really going into detail, you kind of, the title, you scan the abstract, you see, is this useful or not? But this, I think, could be a fantastic tool to help people kind of relatively quickly screen subject matter areas or particular documents to understand if it's something worth investing more time in. So do you want to bring up the quick intro video on this? So this is the video that was generated in, I don't know, a couple of minutes, I guess, Kira, from this paper.
Yeah. So you can create videos and podcasts, and you can even interact with the podcast as well, which I find very cool. If there's a specific question you have, or you want to dig deeper, you can interact with it. So it's handy for people on the move and who are busy and don't have 2 hours to sit down and to read the paper.
Let's jump right in. How do we really know if a new medical device is safe for patients?
Well, this practical guide comes from a big review that found a major gap in the approval process.
It all comes down to this one high-stakes question for every new scanner, implant, or health app out there. The answer should be a benefit-risk analysis, but there's no universal rulebook for how to do it. This is the key step. It's all about weighing the good against the bad to see if a device is safe enough. So 2 paths emerge to tackle this. One is based on expert stories, the other is all about the numbers. And lately, the industry's been chasing those numbers, hoping to take human bias out of the equation. You've got these methods that promise to turn all the complexity into one simple final score. But here's the twist. The review found the numbers aren't as objective, not even close. See, humans still decide what gets measured and how much it matters. Bias just creeps back in. So if no method is perfect, what's the actual game plan? What's the practical way forward?
Probably enough there. It gives you an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, like, I just think it's incredible that, there's so many different use cases within, a device or organization, and not just quality and regulatory, but even, from a production perspective, like if you have a really complex production process or assembly process, you can feed your SOPs and work instructions into this and create sort of quick tutorial videos. Like, I know companies are getting, there's, like, what are the goggles? Virtual
VR
reality goggles are even, coming into certain complex production processes, but from a relatively simple way of, I suppose, bringing content to life, this just seems like a really, really cool option.
So I use it when I come up with ideas I make a little video that I can then send across the company, because that means people don't need to listen to me for 3 hours, and it means that they don't get confused as well, and they can watch it in double speed. So in 5 minutes, they can avoid 3 hours of boredom with me.
The real benefit.
And yeah, and I think a lot of students and people doing further learning can benefit from this as well, because you can create flashcards and quizzes to help learn. And I suppose with the source material, it doesn't need to be just articles. You can upload videos, you can put in YouTube links, so a variety of different sources, and it can help you learn and explain complex kind of content. Great.
This is within Gemini. So you said there is a free version, but to get most functionality there, it's within the paid Gemini service.
Yeah, you can use the free version, but in terms of security and depending on the documents you're uploading or the data you're putting into it, you may want to get the free or the paid license to make sure your data is safe. Great. So
I forgot to ask or say, Kira, anyone with questions, please stick them in the Q&A. I don't see anything so far, but just don't hold them till the end.
I think that was Connor's job to remind people.
I'm monitoring it.
He's gone. He's gone.
We're just double working here, Colm.
Yeah.
So within the Google system as well, we also have Nano Banana, which I know is a funny name, but it's a video and photo editor. Anyone that's used ChatGPT or even Copilot for editing photos or creating images, they know how AI it looks. It's definitely not professional, but Google have invested a lot into this feature, and it's gotten very good, very impressive. So I can even show you an example. So on the left hand side here, you can see Media Suite. So Trinzo are actually hosting their first ever podcast tomorrow in this Media Suite. And as Colm and Connor are going to be here tomorrow, I wanted to see maybe what they should wear, what the set will look like, and obviously not flying Colm in from Australia just to get
I'm not here just for that, no, just so you know.
So yeah, I with one prompt, I just asked Gemini or Nano Banana to put Colm and Connor in from their headshots into this space, change the cushion colors as well to kind of align more with our brand. I felt like these were very strong. So you can see I sent this to them and said, yeah, you're good to wear this outfit. So yeah, it's increasingly getting better. A lot of people find it scary, but when it's used for the right reasons, it can be very beneficial. And lastly on this list is Aria. So this is a multi-agent workflow automation system or an orchestration framework where you can build workflows with multi-agents. So I know we talked a lot about ChatGPT and Copilot and how we build bots or agents on them. But if you have a workflow where you want to automate, you can use a system like Aria. So we're using it currently for a market insights report that we've actually finalized this week. And going into 2026, we'll be putting a lot of focus into building out different workflows on the system to automate and assist our, I suppose, Trinzo employees across the different departments.
Now, of course, you can, this is a software that you use when you want to get multiple agents working with each other, and then the human to check either along the process or on the end of the process or wherever in the process. You can do a lot of this within the Copilot suite, but it's very awkward and you really need to know what you're at. You might even need a little bit of coding, but there are loads of platforms out there. They're all coming up now because, as we know, there'll be more and more agentic solutions working alongside people all over the place. So how do you organize, manage, create, deploy these as a non-techie? Aria is a way of doing that. But Kira, as you see, you still need to know what you're at. It's not a beginner tool. Would that be
Yeah.
fair?
Definitely. And I think the key to all of these specialized tools is that we began with Microsoft Copilot, trialing and testing AI, learning about what it can do and can't do in a safe environment. And then we progressed either to ChatGPT or Gemini. And then when I suppose you can't get what you want from Copilot or ChatGPT due to like technical constraints or kind of customization that you need, you would then go on to the specialized tools. But for each step and each tool, you need the key basics, which is prompt engineering. And definitely for the multi-agent workflow, you're going to need to know the basics or you won't have an effective output with the advanced kind of use cases. So I think we should reiterate, and I think we'll mention it again at the end, but I suppose our very first webinar is proven more crucial than ever. You just need to know the principles of prompt engineering.
With this one, Kira, before we move on from it, is this like going back to one of our earlier webinars, we talked about the multiple agents, say in a CAPA process. Is this what you would use to get them to talk? Like if you've got a root cause agent that then feeds a corrective action agent, that like to get them to talk to each other, this is the thing.
That's what you'd use. You'd build you break up the different tasks. Remember that you'd understand the workflow.
Yeah.
You'd build the different agents and then you'd orchestrate them or coordinate them through a platform like Aria. Again, there are hundreds of platforms out there. Aria is very usable for non-techie people. You can choose the model of LLM you want to use to power the agent, and you can then say, when you finish this task, pass it on to the next one, and so on and so forth.
Is it like, would Aria be, or that kind of tool, like, is it SME level, large multinational level? Like how could an SME QARA department with 7 to 10 people deploy something like this internally themselves?
Yeah. Definitely. Okay. Now, the larger companies will probably have proper AI departments, and they'll use stuff like Red Hat or IBM Watson, or where you actually need specialist people whose only job is to do several of the different things within it. But if you're an SME or a department in a company, you can handle, as Kira said, once you get to probably just before an advanced level in terms of use of generative AI, that's when you could start using a tool like Aria to do it yourself. And you could, and if you're crazy like me, you could have it at home being your personal assistant, telling you what you're doing for the day and figuring out all the different stuff that you need to figure out through your life. Remember to say hello to Kira.
I can't wait for my holidays. Great. So this is our custom built solutions. Again, we've built these for our consultants or quality and regulatory teams. We have an M&A tool and an audit tool. I won't go into detail in these today, but if anyone wants further information about each of these or how you can build your own tool, do reach out and we can set up a call. So Connor, I might pass this one over to you. I know we focused a lot about the internal tools we use across the different departments, but we want to showcase as well, we are implementing AI with our clients.
This is a partner company of ours in Trinzo. It's a company I have a history with insofar as I co-founded it at Adaptame. And we've implemented obviously across publishing mainly and governmental but now we started to implement across training departments in life science companies. And so you can imagine all the life science companies, loads of SOPs and procedures and loads of stuff that they need to train on. Like I've seen myself, people press play on a 2-hour video, go away, have a cup of coffee and whatnot, and come back at the end of it, which may tick the boxes, call them the same, but it's not really all that useful for your training or for knowing what to do. But what a solution like Adapt2Me does is it allows you to personalize the learning experience, chop up the content into small little bite-sized pieces and deliver them just in time for people to go on their own learning journey. That of course means that people actually engage much better, learn what they need to learn. I was at a meeting there with someone. They said that if I went and studied every SOP I have to study, I'd be only studying SOPs for the next 6 months. Now imagine you were able to chop that up into the SOPs that you're going to need, and 5 minutes a day, every day, delivered at you when you need it. And to be able to figure out, well, that he understands that SOP means that he probably doesn't need to know these ones because he already knows them, if you know what I mean. It just makes the learning experience far better. And it means that you're able to identify knowledge gaps and close those gaps really quickly. And the big thing, like with any learning, is the quicker we get feedback, the faster we learn. So that you can get feedback that isn't just right or wrong. Like we can give feedback with hints in it or with personalized instructions. You may not have got that right. Have you thought about it from this angle? You can get much better learning outcomes. Of course, in the greater picture, it'll make your organization much more compliant and much more audit ready, if you know what I mean. But like I think it's something everybody should do anyway.
Yeah, like I think so. As anyone in industry will know, like training it's a requirement, you know, from 13485, from a regulation perspective. Like you have to have a training process, and most companies have a decent training process. They have to have one no matter what. But quite often it is, you mentioned it, Connor, it's a tick the box. You know, it's a new person comes in, there's an induction checklist. Okay, you're in this role, we've got a training matrix, these SOPs are applicable to you, go away and read them, sign this read and understood form. There'll be a quiz afterwards. So like the building blocks of a training process are already in place because they have to be, right? You have to maintain training records, all that kind of stuff. But in my experience, and this is only speaking of my own experience, I would say that in most cases, when a person comes out the other side of that training process, they genuinely haven't learned a whole pile. You know, they haven't learned the practical application of the knowledge that's in there. And again, if they don't start deploying that knowledge quickly, it gets lost, you know, just as quick. So something like this, given that the training process is a must, it's a requirement, if you can actually make it a much more valuable experience, then you're decreasing the time to usefulness, I suppose, for a new hire as well. So and I guess AI is allowing it to be just a much more clever training solution.
Great. I think that's a great example. So yeah, to wrap up, we're just going to cover the 5 habits for quality output. So these are the habits our team have kind of implemented into their working day to make sure they're getting the most out of AI. So the first one there is draft and refine. So making sure you draft with AI and then use your expertise to read it, refine it, and finalize the output. And it's often useful to create a couple of drafts based on different prompts, or even using different systems to create the draft, to making sure it's getting closer or it's close to what you want to get out of that specific task.
The second one I can talk about here, the critic persona. So using AI to critique your own work, identify risks and blind spots early. So a useful use case here that comes to mind for me is responding to regulatory queries. So, you know, there's notified body, FDA, whoever it is. Like if you're part of a larger team and you can have multiple perspectives on a question and how to respond to it, that's fantastic. But if you don't have a large pool of resources to kind of share that experience with, then you can use AI to critique your own. Like if you prepare a response to a query, you can use AI to critique that response and see, am I bringing my own bias into it? The response might, in your mind, might be the finding or the query might be similar to something you got 2 years ago, and the answer you gave 2 years ago solved it. So I'm going to kind of do roughly the same answer again this time around. But you're bringing, a historical bias into that, and that may lead to you not fully addressing the question that's being asked. So using AI as a kind of sounding board in those scenarios is really, really nice use.
Yeah, that's a good point. I often use it when I'm creating a plan to identify areas of improvement or areas of risks within it that I may be missing. The third one there is using the voice to text. So the voice function on either ChatGPT, Gemini, or Copilot, they estimate it to be 3 to 4 times more effective. But I know even in my personal work, I use it all the time. Mostly when I'm working from home, because I'm a bit crazy walking around the office talking to ChatGPT. But it just really helps you think out concepts when you're planning for kind of more complicated work, something that you're trying to figure out, brainstorming. I find it very beneficial. And I know, Connor, you use it a lot too.
Yeah, I walk up and down. Like everybody thinks I'm going mad. And when I'm in the office, I go either outside or I go into the soundproof rooms. Like I'm talking to my computer. Well, I'm talking to myself first, and then I'm talking to my computer after that.
It's great though. It makes a big difference. I use voice to text wherever possible, but one of the things I love is after a face-to-face meeting, as soon as possible. So like you get out of the office or whatever, sit into your car, and I recap the meeting into ChatGPT on my phone, voice to text, just recapping my thoughts from the meeting. And then from that, you can generate meeting notes. But even if you don't generate meeting notes and it's just a record that you can come back to afterwards, because the actual accuracy in the voice capture in ChatGPT anyway is incredible, even with not so thick Kerry accent, but there is a bit of one in there. It can still understand perfectly.
Very good.
Yeah. So the prompt library here, this is it's very useful across teams to use a prompt library, particularly to balance when some people on the team may be more advanced at prompting and using AI. If you have that prompt library that everyone has access to, it can kind of level the playing field. And I actually noticed in Copilot today, when I was prepping for the demos, there is actually a space where you can log your prompts. So a prompt library within Copilot, so you can even keep it within the system, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah.
And Colm, do you want to cover the last one there? I know we've talked about it already.
Oh yeah. I mean, you mentioned this earlier. This is the foundation of all of it. Like, I mean, it's the classic that we've said plenty of times: is rubbish in, rubbish out. Like you need to put effort into your prompts. You put the effort in on the front end to get a better output. And if you are lazy and you put in, an unstructured, loose prompt without defining what you want, then you're going to spend an awful lot more time refining the output. So it's it ties in with the prompt library as well, of course. It's that control. And if you're, like we talked about this before, but you're getting into higher risk use cases of AI. So if you start using it more within your quality system, in particular processes, then we need to start the conversation of validating the use of it there. And really, an important pillar of potentially validating the use of AI within your quality system is prompt libraries and prompt engineering, because it creates that consistent way of asking questions that improves the consistency and the way out. It doesn't guarantee it, but it improves it. So learning prompt engineering is a huge skill of everyone. And I think the point I made earlier about, say, Trinzo using AI widely within the organization for all sorts of things, from finance to HR to whatever, like every time you interact with AI, you are building up your own skill from a prompt engineering perspective. So I think, any companies listening in, that's a hugely valuable message, is to just start now, start small if you haven't already, because the prompt engineering is becoming, it's like learning to type, I suppose, all over again. Start doing the ECDL. Anyone remembers that? Yeah.
Not me anyway. Colin.
Aging you.
No, Asian ourselves. Yeah.
Look at
Oh,
that
lads.
picture there. Yes. So guys, this is our last one before Christmas. We'll be back in February after Kira gets back from her South American escapades. People have put a lot of really cool suggestions for us, so we're preparing for next year. Like some people want to look at knowledge graphs, which is very close to what my original expertise might be in terms of AI. People have asked about project management tools, and we're going to be talking to our client delivery team here to see if we can put together a session on project management, show you what we're doing and give some advice on what you might use yourself. But keep your suggestions coming through, and we'll put together sessions that are hopefully useful for you guys in 2026. So with that, just from the AI team, the whole of Trinzo would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Have
guys.
a good evening.
I know.
Thanks, folks. Bye now.
Thanks. Merry Christmas.